Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the Knockout Legend. This channel tells complete Muhammad Ali stories, the quiet confrontations, the unseen tests, and the moments where reputation carried more weight than fists. By the time Muhammad Ali stepped backstage that night, the noise of the event hadn't reached him yet. Out front, the crowd was loud. Lights were hot. Energy was high. Backstage was different. Controlled. Narrow. Full of people who understood hierarchy without having to say it out loud. Ali moved through that space calmly, unbothered by the rush around him. He wasn't scheduled to fight. He wasn't there to perform. He'd been invited, that was enough. Backstage corridors are strange places. They compress egos. They remove applause. They force people to stand face to face without the protection of distance. Ali understood that better than most. He stopped briefly to greet someone he knew. A promoter, a familiar face from past events. A few words. A nod. Nothing loud. That's when the bigger man appeared. He wasn't subtle. 300 pounds or close to it. Broad shoulders. Thick neck. The kind of build that announces itself without moving fast. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't talent. He was security. Muscle. An enforcer attached to someone important enough to expect space to clear when he walked. And when he saw Ali, he didn't slow down. First, it looked accidental. A shoulder angle too wide. A step that didn't adjust. Ali noticed. He always noticed. Ali stopped. Not abruptly. Naturally. He turned slightly so they were facing each other. The bigger man didn't apologize. That was the first signal. Instead, the man looked Ali up and down. Not hostile. Evaluative. As if weighing something. That look didn't belong in that hallway. Someone nearby cleared their throat. Another person glanced away. Backstage etiquette says if two strong presences meet, you let them resolve it themselves. The bigger man smirked. He said something under his breath. Not loud enough to echo, but loud enough to be heard. Something about Ali being smaller than expected. Something about weight. Ali didn't react. He didn't smile. He didn't step back either. He simply stood where he was. That refusal to yield space changed the air. The bigger man shifted closer. Not aggressively. Testing. Seeing if Ali would move. Ali didn't. That's when the witnesses began to understand what was happening. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a test. Ali spoke calmly. He asked the man if there was a problem. No challenge in his voice. Just clarity. The bigger man laughed. That laugh wasn't friendly. It was dismissive. He said something about Ali being quick in the ring but light. He said size mattered back here. That was the mistake. Ali tilted his head slightly. Not in disbelief. In curiosity. He asked the man if he wanted space. The phrasing was deliberate. Because Ali wasn't asking permission. He was offering an exit. The bigger man didn't take it. He stepped closer. Close enough now that the hallway felt smaller. Someone behind them muttered something like, "Hey!" No one finished the sentence. Ali remained relaxed. Hands low. Posture loose. But his eyes had sharpened. The people who'd seen him fight recognized that look immediately. The others didn't. Ali said one thing. Quiet. Measured. He said, "You don't want this." Not as a threat. As information. The bigger man rolled his shoulders. He said Ali talked too much. He said if this were outside the ring, things would be different. Ali nodded. That nod mattered. Because it meant Ali had finished assessing the situation. The hallway went silent. Not dramatically. Organically. People stopped walking. Stopped talking. They sensed the shift before they understood it. The bigger man made his move. Not a punch. A shove. Testing force. Testing balance. Ali didn't stumble. He didn't step back. He absorbed it the way only fighters do, through structure, not resistance. And in the same motion, he stepped inside the man's space. What happened next wasn't flashy. No wild swings. No chows. Just economy. Ali's hands moved quickly. Too quickly for anyone untrained to follow. He didn't throw a punch meant to knock someone out. He redirected weight. Controlled balance. Used leverage. The bigger man's feet left the floor for a moment. That moment felt impossible. Then he went down. Not slammed. Placed. Hard enough to matter. The sound echoed. A dull final sound. The kind that resets rooms. No one rushed forward. No one shouted. The witnesses went silent because silence was the only response that made sense. The bigger man tried to move. He didn't immediately succeed. Ali stepped back. Already finished. Ali didn't look down at him. He didn't posture. He adjusted his jacket. Smoothed the fabric. Someone nearby whispered Ali's name. Ali didn't answer. Security froze. Not because they were afraid. Because they were confused. This wasn't the outcome they prepared for. Ali spoke again. Still calm. He said, "We're done." And that was it. The bigger man sat up slowly. Pride bruised more than his body. He didn't say anything. He couldn't. Ali walked past him. The hallway parted without instruction. Only after Ali had moved away did people breathe again. No one followed him. No one stopped him. Because whatever authority existed in that corridor had already spoken. Behind him, people checked on the bigger man. Quietly. Respectfully. Without commentary. Ali reached the end of the hallway and paused. Not to look back. Just to steady himself before re-entering noise and light. The witnesses exchanged glances. They didn't exaggerate what they'd seen. They didn't need to. The truth was heavy enough. Because what happened backstage wasn't about strength. It was about understanding who carried control, and who only borrowed it. And the room had just learned the difference. The silence didn't break right away. That was the part people remembered most. In a backstage corridor built for motion. Assistants moving, equipment rolling, voices bouncing off concrete. Everything had stopped. Not out of fear exactly. Out of recalibration. People were reassessing what they thought they'd just witnessed. The bigger man remained on the floor for a moment longer than anyone expected. Not unconscious. Just processing. He hadn't been knocked down by force in the way he understood force. He'd been displaced. His balance taken before his strength had a chance to argue. That distinction unsettled him. A couple of people finally stepped forward to help him up. Carefully. Respectfully. No one joked. No one laughed. This wasn't embarrassment. It was instruction. Down the corridor, Muhammad Ali kept walking. Not fast. Not slow. The same pace he'd entered with. That mattered. Because it signaled that what had just happened didn't require follow-up. It was complete. Someone caught up to him. An event official, breath slightly quickened. He apologized. Not formally. Instinctively. Ali nodded, accepting it without comment. He didn't need apologies. He needed alignment. And alignment had already occurred. Behind them, the backstage environment slowly restarted. People spoke again, but in lower tones. Movements resumed, but with more awareness. Whatever illusion of dominance had existed 5 minutes earlier had quietly dissolved. The bigger man eventually stood on his own. He waved off assistance, straightened his jacket, looked around, and for the first time he seemed unsure where he stood in the room. That uncertainty was new to him. And it showed. He didn't look angry. He looked instructed. Later, someone asked him what had happened. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't explain techniques. He said only this: "I misjudged him." Nothing more. Ali didn't mention the incident afterward. Not to the press. Not to friends. Not even to people who'd been there and asked privately. That silence wasn't avoidance. It was discipline. Ali had learned long ago that stories grow when you feed them. He wasn't interested in feeding this one. What traveled instead were fragments. Witness accounts. Small details. The lack of struggle. The lack of emotion. The way Ali had ended it without making it bigger than it needed to be. Those details carried farther than any quote ever could. Within days, the story had already changed shape. Some versions exaggerated. Some minimized. But the core remained consistent. A much bigger man had tried Ali backstage. And it had ended immediately. What made the incident linger wasn't violence. It was contrast. People expected chaos. They got clarity. Ali's strength had never been about domination. It was about control under pressure. That night was no different. A trainer who'd witnessed it summed it up quietly. He said Ali didn't win anything. He corrected something, the trainer said. That distinction mattered. The bigger man returned to his job eventually. But something had shifted. He no longer tested presence with proximity. He no longer leaned on size as introduction. He'd learned that some men don't move because you step toward them. They move only when they decide to. Ali continued his evening as planned. He spoke to a few people, smiled, laughed. Anyone watching closely could tell he hadn't carried the moment with him. He'd left it where it belonged, backstage. Later that night, someone asked Ali why he hadn't just walked away when the man crowded him. Ali thought about it, then said something simple. Walking away teaches nothing, he said. Standing still does. That answer explained everything. Ali had never sought conflict, but he never avoided correction. That balance defined him. In the ring, in public, and in narrow hallways where ego tried to borrow authority it didn't own. The witnesses never forgot the moment. Not because it was shocking, because it was instructive. They'd seen size fail without being humiliated. They'd seen power exercised without cruelty. They'd seen restraint end a test before it could become a problem. Years later, when people spoke about Ali's presence, they rarely referenced that specific incident. They referenced moments like it. Moments where Ali didn't need to prove who he was, because the environment adjusted around him. That's what happened backstage that night. The room adjusted. Ali didn't gain anything from it. He didn't need to. But everyone else learned something. About space. About assumption. About the difference between strength that's borrowed and strength that's carried. The bigger man never tried anyone like that again. Not Ali. Not anyone. That was perhaps the most telling outcome of all. Ali never followed up. Never checked in. Never revisited it. Because for Ali, moments like that weren't personal. They were positional. And once position is clarified, it doesn't require reinforcement. That's why the witnesses went silent. Not because they were afraid. Because they understood what silence meant. It meant the lesson had landed. Ali had always believed that the loudest thing you can do in a tense moment is remain calm. That belief had served him well. That night it served everyone else too. And when a much bigger man tried Muhammad Ali backstage, the result wasn't chaos. It was correction. Quiet. Immediate. Final. Because Ali didn't crush the man. He crushed the misunderstanding. And once that was gone, there was nothing left to fight. That was Ali's real dominance. Not force. Not fear. But clarity that ended things before they had a chance to begin.